Okay, now we're going to get ready to do some, in this video, some work with the specular levels and glossiness in your maps. I want to mention that, once again, I've done a little bit of Photoshop work. As great as Viewport Canvas is, it does have its limitations, and one limitation I think is kind of a serious one is that there's no way to make direct selections in Viewport Canvas on the maps like a polygon lasso tool or something like that, or fence selection like you can, when we're not in Viewport Canvas with the fence selection tool here. We're doing modeling work and whatnot. And so I needed to do some things in Photoshop. Let me just show you really quickly what I did, and then we'll view the characters so you can see the results. So let's take a look at our specular map here. View image. If you can see the shirt sections here and the pants sections, I darkened them evenly. The cloth shouldn't be very reflective, so it needs to be a little bit darker. The shoes were fine. We're going to do some detail work on the face a little bit. This is the face section here, and a little bit of detail work on the bottom of the jeans, and that's fine doing that in Viewport Canvas because you have a lot of control. But what I wanted to do is make just a selection in Photoshop, which is what I did. You can actually see the selection that I made. And then work with the levels in Photoshop and just simply darken this up, evenly, and near impossible to do in Viewport Canvas. I mean, it's just difficult. Oops, sorry. Zooming out a little too much there. One more. There we go. Anyway, and that's the result. And let's take a look. And we're going to do some things, and we're going to do a few things. Let me just give you a heads up of what we're going to be working with in this video. I mentioned already the specular levels and glossiness, so I'm going to be fixing this down here. Let's render this. Let's render this out. Hit the render button. And you can see that this looks not just simply white, but it actually looks a little bit shiny right here. And that's because the specular level, even though I darkened the whole jeans, is still pretty bright there. It shouldn't really be. Just because we have some scuffiness there doesn't mean it should actually be shiny. The shirt looks pretty good now. It has a nice even specularity that just feels like cloth. I think that for the most part the shoes are in pretty good shape. They have that very white, reflective, sort of like rubber kind of like thing going on there. Now I might add a little bit of detail work here to scuff them up a little bit with some dirt and stuff just to make it look a little more natural. But I also want to work on the face and just make some of the face a little bit more specular. So we're going to do some of that stuff. And I'm also going to add some in the diffuse map. I'm also going to add some freckles along his nose and cheeks here, just kind of make it more interesting looking. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today on this video. So let's get busy with this. Let's start with this specular level map, which I have selected here. Make sure our character is selected. All right, and here's our specular map. And I'm actually going to work right on the character with this. I'm going to use a brush that's going to actually lighten up the area quite a bit, and I'm going to use like a sort of a grayish color. In fact, I think I'll just cancel. I think I'll go in here and just choose one of these grays that are a little bit lighter, perhaps, than what is on there right now. Make the brush quite a bit smaller, and then I'm going to zoom in quite a bit on the character. Getting him to move down a little bit here. So let's get the hand tool here and do it that way. Alright, now behave. Alright, this is what we need to do sometimes. We have to zoom extents and then roll around. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to an orthographic view, and it probably won't give me so much trouble then. Alright, there we go. Perspective views are really important, but sometimes it's actually easier to work in an orthographic view to do some of this kind of stuff. Alright, so what I'm going to do here first is to I think I'm going to work on this area right here. See how kind of like light and value that is right there? That's good. That makes it actually look shiny, not just simply scuffed up with like it does in the viewport view. So let's get our color that away, and let's get back over here. And again, there we go. Okay. Yeah, just wondering if that's going to be. Let's make the opacity 100% so we can see what we're doing here. That might be a little bit too dark of a color, perhaps. So let's just try white and see what we get. And the hardness, spacing is fine. That should be good. There we go. That's, yeah. Let's go back to that gray color. I think I'll even choose that one. Nope, a little bit darker in this case. There we go. I think that'll work out pretty nicely. Just trying to match it up with sort of the colors around it. And all right, let's move this over a little bit, and let's go ahead and just do a little bit of delicate painting to darken up this area just a little bit here. I have marrying on, as you can see. And it's not responding very well. I've got the spacing set okay. Let's try it again. I think I may have turned something on down here that I forgot about. Oh, stroke smoothing. Let's bring that back down to 1. There we go. That's more like it. I forgot that I'd changed that setting a little while ago when I was just testing some things out. So I needed to fix that. So that's pretty good. Let's actually go in with a little bit darker value in here. Maybe right here to kind of blend that a little bit. All right. That should be good enough. It's just a specularity issue, and I think that's going to take care of the problem. I'm going to maybe blur that just a tiny bit. Whoa, that's a smudge tool. Blur that just a little bit. Zoom back in a little bit here. Just want to blur that so it smooths it together a little bit more. You know, it could actually be a little darker. Making just a little bit darker. Whoa, too much. I'll do that. Let's change the opacity to about 75 here. Kind of mess around with this a little bit sometimes just to get that. It's still too dark. In that case, put this color palette away. Let's go here. Let's actually make a darker value that works for us. Too much. Down a little bit. Oops, still too dark. That's better. Okay, there we go. Trying to make this even, as I said. Alright, now I can go in with the blur tool and kind of blend that in a little bit so it doesn't have that edginess. Okay, good. That should do the trick. That's all I really wanted to do in there, and I'm not worried about the texture kind of look there because that's being handled by the bump map and the specularity to some degree too. Alright. I mean, rather the bump map. I just want it to not be shiny. Okay, so that's not too bad there. And I think this will be okay. Well, you know what? Let's just blur that up a little bit in there. Don't really need that to be shiny. So I think if I just blur this a bit, you know, that'll kind of blend it a little bit here, and then we can add maybe a little bit of that darker gray color. It's a little bit too dark, so let's go in there and adjust that down a little bit. Maybe a little less. There we go. Just kind of pull that in there. Otherwise, that's going to end up seeming a bit shiny also. And now we can go in and blur it a little bit like we did before. And that'll take care of that shiny area. You know, there's also this funny specularity thing going on here too. Let's get that brush and see if we can fix that. Take care of that. There we go. Blur that just a little bit. Okay, I think we're set. All right, zoom out. Okay, so the other area that I wanted to work on, and I think that's going to take care of a few areas really quick there. is to allow the face to have a little bit more specularity. In other words, a little bit lighter value in a few places on the face. Lighter value, yeah. Let's get our paintbrush. Yeah, I need a smaller brush, but very soft. Yeah, like that. There we go. And just add a little bit of some shininess to around his nose, his, around the eyes, where we have a little bit more oiliness in our skin, and maybe just right there on the lips a little bit too. So I'm going to make this brush just a little smaller. There we go. And perhaps the opacity just a little less as well, maybe about 50. There we go. Okay, now we have a little more control. So I'm just going to give it a little bit here on the nose. Let's see, just a little one here. That's too bright. It's a little deceiving when you're working with specular maps. So I'm just going to do that. It's a little too bright. Let's make the opacity really, really lightweight here. 20. Brush radius could be maybe a little bit bigger, because once we actually start painting on here. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay. That's good. That's nice and soft. And I'll be able to blur that a little bit as well. But we want to create that, some of these areas where we have a little bit more shininess to our face, because as I mentioned, oils in our skin. So. And a little bit up here over the brow area. Okay, let's get the blur tool. And kind of blur that out just a little bit so it's a little smoother. We don't want it to be, splotchy looking necessarily. I mean, sometimes maybe we do, but not in this case. But this will be a little bit more, just a little bit more shiny in that area. Let's get our brush tool again, and a little bit smaller brush. And let's add a little smaller. Let's just go kind of in the area where the lips are, just to get a little bit more shininess there. Just a little more natural. Blur tool, smooth that out just a little bit. It also reduces the amount, so it can be a little bit more heavy-handed. Okay, let's open that up. Okay. Oh, and on the chin. Also. Oops. Zoom down a little bit there. Alright. Zoom in here. Get on the chin. A little bit larger brush. And just a little bit of that same feel in the chin area. I'm not worried about the roughness because I'm going to smooth that out with the blur tool. Soften it up. So it's going to be just a slightly more specular, that's all. Alright, so that's that for our specularity. So let's get out of here for a second. Zoom out. Now let's just see how that looks on the face. You can see where it's maybe slightly more shiny right in this area right here, and it's very possible that we might need to bring our specularity overall down just a little bit. Couldn't hurt to do that, so let's bring that down. Go back up here to our specular map here. And maybe it needs to be more in the around 40 or so. And bring the glassiness down also to keep it even. Around 20 perhaps. Let's get about half. Let's do it again. That's a little better. We want it to have a soft skin look, and yet have a little bit of that slight shininess in certain areas. Let's take a look at the rest of the skin here. If I zoom it out and take a look at the arms, how do they look? They don't look too bad. It's a little too bumpy. That's one of the issues that we need to take care of. on the arms. We took care of it on the face, but let's do that on the arms as well. So let's go back into the bump map this time, and go here, choose the bump, and go in here and work on smoothing out this area right here. And the simple way to do that is just to use the blur tool. You don't need to add any color or anything to it. We just need to adjust how much variation there is between light and dark. And see what I'm doing here? It's just really simply and evenly kind of smoothing it out. And there's certain areas that should be more smooth than others, like on the underside of the arm. Our skin tends to be, I think, a little more rough where it is exposed to the sun. It's supposed to wear sunblock, all that stuff, right? So I'm okay with it being a little bit more rough in some of these areas, and especially around the elbow. But the upper arm up here, probably a little too much. Just make it a little bit, less even as well. And it should be mirroring. Yes, it is. So I should be taking care of that on the other arm as well. And I'm going to get it up here a little bit. Here. And here, palm of the hand shouldn't be very rough. Keep forgetting to hide that ground plane. It would make it easier to see what we're doing sometimes. Let's soften that part up, I guess, the inside of the fingers a little bit. Okay. Zoom out, rotate around. That should make a difference. And on the bump as well, we seem to have this funky thing going on here with this. Get our paint tool and see if we can fix that. I don't know when that happened, but it was my mistake. I'm sure of that. Let's get us zoom in a little bit here so I can get that detail. And let's see if I can just lighten that up a little bit. That might be enough of a light color. I'm going to take the smudge tool and see if I can do something clever here. Push down a little bit. Okay, make some of this stuff go in there now. It's not doing much. We just need to get a light value here and go over this a bit. I have the opacity really reduced for this brush also. That's not helping us in this situation very much either. 100%, see if that helps a little bit. Whoop, I got this smudge tool. Yep, too light. Undo. There we go. Let's bring that opacity down again to about 25. I just had the wrong tool selected. I have to pay attention to what I'm doing when I'm working on these videos. A little bit fixated sometimes, Oh, still too light. I'm just trying to make this sort of uneven, so I don't want it to be too much of a obvious light area any more than an obvious dark area. Now I should be able to go in with the smudge tool and move that stuff around a little bit. See, I'm able to create that similar texture. And I think because it's just a bump map, it's not going to be as noticeable. But you just want to make sure, and then I can get the blur tool perhaps and blur that up just a little bit also. All right, good enough. Good enough for now. It's an imperfection in his genes, and that's part of what makes him gonna look kind of interesting. All right, now let's go ahead now and. We're almost going to be done with our textures here, except that we're going to need to work on the hair in the next video. It's a separate object, so we'll need to work on that. So, all right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create some freckles for him. And zoom in pretty tight. And the diffuse map flat. So I need to get out of here. I need to go here and choose our diffuse map. Back to brush settings, and this is pretty straightforward. We're literally going to just make some little bumps on our character's face, and let's find just the right color here. Freckles are a little bit of an orangey brown color. So let's bring this up. And bring this down to something that's going to be a little bit more of a brown. We don't want them to be too strong, so I'm going to really get a pretty good color, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity of the brush quite a bit so that it actually shows the skin through instead of being really solid like that. Look how much darker it looks on there than it does with the color. But that's okay. We're going to, let's lighten it up just a little bit here. Lighten it this way as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and adjust the opacity of the brush to, we'll say, about 25%. And I think that's going to work out pretty good. And also we're going to change the size of the brush to be pretty small. Now, one of the things we can do here with this is we can create a scatter effect with our tablet. We can also do a bit of a scatter just right here. So we're going to experiment with this just a little bit. I'm actually going to use my mouse to see how this works with this scatter up here. And let's just try doing some. Oh, that's going to work out pretty good, except it's not the right. How the heck did the color change? That's wrong. But anyway, so that's going to give us kind of an interesting little scatter thing. And now I know that I could probably bring the scatter down a little bit, perhaps. Okay. And undo that. Let's get our color back. I don't know how the heck that color got to be. You know what? I probably didn't hit OK. Which is one of the issues there. So let's get that browner color, more of a dark. That might be a pretty good color right there. Maybe a little darker. Okay. Say okay. And then let's try the scatter. This is going to work out alright. It's a good way to make freckles, huh? Don't go crazy with them. Alright, then I'm going to turn the mirroring off. In fact, I'm going to undo most of that. Let's do a little bit with the mirroring on, and then we want to make it asymmetrical here. Let's go back here. And make it asymmetrical after that. So let's do a little bit. Whoa, too much. Undo that. Scatter. Bring it up. So let's see if a higher value works better for us. Yeah, it's a little too much though. Somewhere in between. Okay, now turn that off, and then I can go over here and do some asymmetrical stuff. But this will work out pretty good. There we go. All right, that should do the trick. Okay, so that's just enough, you know, for a little bit of interest on his face. So now we can go in here and render this out and see how that looks. It renders. There we go. Not bad. Cartoon character. Remember, we're not trying to create reality here. We're trying to create a feel of you know, a natural feel to this. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape with most of our diffuse stuff. We've got, let's take a look at our entire character here. Turn him around a little bit. Zoom out. And not looking too shabby. We got some pretty good textures on there, making them look like a little skateboard dude. And the next step is going to be to actually work with the hair in the next video. So we'll do that coming up.